All right, well, I'm Virginia Parker. I'm the principal of Schenck Elementary. And Schenck Elementary was we merged two campuses last year. When Foster Elementary closed, we kept half of the Foster students, and we moved all of the Schenck students from the Schenck campus to the Foster campus. And so we are housed at the Foster campus right now while Schenck is being renovated. I'm super excited because we get to move to our new Schenck campus this summer. So we've been at Foster for 2 years, and we're very, very excited to go to the new campus. We have, because of the merge, we have quite a few students. We have close to 800 students. I think we're at 760 right now. We were at 800 last year, so I'm confident that once we get to the new campus, our enrollment will go to 800 and above. So that's really exciting for us. And we are at pre-K through 5 campus. So first of all, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this, because it really tapped into some of the creative parts of our job our brain that we don't always get to use. So my team they were all on board. And as Hamadeh can tell you, they were invested in all of the meetings and all of the planning. And so we're really grateful and excited for this endeavor. So on your sheets, you can see the first part is the school needs. And in Objective 3, which is to expand the impact and promote teacher development, the core components that we landed on are the highlighted ones: strategic student grouping, high impact coaching cycles, and differentiated data and data-driven PD. Objective 4, which is about the school schedules, the core components that we landed on were HQIM instruction and planning, modeling and co-teaching time, and teacher leadership time. And in Objective 5, which are the teacher responsibilities, we highlighted competitive compensation for redesign roles and responsibilities. Our staffing plan, the first role that we looked at was modeling a model or impact teacher. The data that supported the need for this teacher was on page 1 of our huge data packet, and it showed that 64% of teachers reported having opportunities for leadership roles, and only 23% reported participating in coaching cycles to support their growth and development. We would like to implement this role in year 1, and this impact teacher would serve as a leader on campus and would take some part in coaching teachers. The second role is a content lead teacher. The data to support this role was 50% of teachers reported participating in differentiated PD, and only 23 reported participating in coaching cycles. We would also like to implement this one in year 1, and we might have, we were looking at a math or reading content, but we would like to prioritize math just because that's been a priority for our campus. The content lead teacher would serve as a leader in their specific content area, and they would also take part in planning differentiated PD for teachers. The third role we looked at was the teacher coach, and we decided not to implement this one in year 1, but possibly in year 2. Some of the schedule features that we looked at was a model period, and because 70% of teachers reported having enough time to develop their teaching practice, and both content and impact teachers would be involved in coaching, modeling, observing, and co-teaching. And all of that would lead to teacher development. An observation period, the data to support this need was 23% of teachers reported participating in coaching cycles, so the content and impact teacher would both be involved in some ways in coaching teachers. and extended common planning time. 50% of teachers reported having adequate time to complete their roles and responsibilities. What we would like to do is schedule half-day planning for grade levels at least once per quarter. And the content teacher may help or participate in planning those sessions for the teachers. Additional planning time, again, the 50% of teachers reported having adequate time for their responsibilities, and the content teacher would have an additional time to plan PD and PLCs and would lead after-school PD on campus. So to look further into or more closely into the content lead teacher, this would be a teacher who's an expert in their content area, and we're hoping to build their capacity with all of the teachers. The key responsibilities, they would still have their current teaching responsibilities as a grade level teacher, but then some of the additional responsibilities would be to plan and facilitate PD, and that would be differentiated PD to meet the needs of the teachers at Schenck Elementary or their campus. To plan PLC meetings with the campus instructional leadership team, to serve as the campus representative on the district academic committee, to support teachers in their classroom, to hold office hours once per week to meet with teachers, and to utilize one of their planning periods to plan the PD sessions, and to open their classroom for teachers to come and observe. They would collaborate with the campus instructional team and teachers and communicate effectively with all stakeholders. The metrics that we would use to monitor the progress, we were looking at T-test observation and dimension 2.2, the content knowledge, and we're hoping to increase that content knowledge amongst the teachers. The other metrics was the T-test comprehensive walkthroughs, particularly in dimension 2.3 communication, because we would hope to have an increase in that area with teachers using more academic language and students using more academic language. Another metrics would be the PD agendas and teacher participation. We would have 50%, we would hope that 50% of teachers would attend the after-school PD. And of course, we would look at the surveys and student assessments. The work schedule and hours would be the same with an additional hour after school. The compensation, we're hoping for a $5,000 stipend per year, and that would include 3 additional contract days. We did have some questions about the contract days, how that would work, and if we could excuse the content teacher from some of the district PD. If they could attend out-of-state PD, and how the stipend would be paid out yearly, bi-yearly, or monthly. Some of the other this was the other incentives that we were hoping that the content lead teacher would be excused from some of the district PD that's not mandatory, so that they could work with the instructional leadership team on the campus PD. The requirements are there: bachelor's degree, a minimum of 3 years teaching, being certified in their core content, and then we would prefer a master's degree with a minimum of 2 years on campus, just so that they would know the campus and know the culture of the campus, and that we would prefer that they do have a TIA designation. The role requirements are extensive knowledge in content area, the ability to deconstruct TEKS for effective Tier 1 instruction, and a history of high attendance. Some of the soft skills would be to maintain composure, communicate effectively, collaborate, be reliable, have strong classroom management skills, adhere to deadlines, be organized, and be able to multitask. Some of the training and support that we would hope to offer is professional development and coaching in particular, and in their content areas, And then, of course, they would still have their planning days and attend the ILT meetings. How close am I? Am I over time already?
Yes.
Okay.
And we do want to hear about the impact teacher,
Yes.
so if everyone is okay with giving her a few extra minutes, go ahead and finish.
Okay. So the impact teacher is the one that I'm really excited about. This is a teacher who has shown to be a highly effective teacher on campus that we want other teachers to be able to go and observe. So they would have their regular teaching responsibilities, but we would also want them to serve a larger class size because we really want more students exposed to that teacher. And additional responsibilities would be to be an expert, to have a classroom that is conducive to demonstrations. So the classroom setup would be one where others can come in and easily have a place to observe and walk around. There's also the classroom setup, print-rich environment. We would want all of those things in the classroom. We also would want this teacher to hold office hours after school to meet with the teachers that are observing them if they had questions. We would hope that they would be able to implement some of those adult learning approaches, be open to feedback, and to not miss more than 3 scheduled observations. Hopefully none, but we know things happen. We also want them to collaborate and communicate effectively. The metrics that we would use for the progress monitoring would be to look at the frequency of the observations. And of course, some teachers we may ask them to go to this classroom more frequently. And hopefully, as they build their own expertise, they would not have to go and observe as much. We would emphasize high needs instructional practices of the observing teacher. And then, of course, there's some student outcomes that we would look at. We would hope that the student outcomes in the teacher who's going to observe would increase. Regular work schedules and hours with that 1 additional hour after a week after school. The compensation, this one is broken up into 2. There would be a $3,000 stipend because this teacher has an oversized classroom, and we did have some questions about how that works and how that is paid out. And then $3,000 stipend just for the extra responsibilities of being that observing teacher. And some other incentives to consider that we would, again, want them to not have to attend the non-mandatory district PD to be able to work with the instructional leadership team. We would require a bachelor's degree and 3 years of teaching. We would like a master's degree with 2 years, same as the other teacher. 2 years at the campus, and hopefully be a master teacher. We would need them to have extensive knowledge and highly effective teaching practices, be able to deconstruct TEKS for effective Tier 1 instruction, and have a history of high attendance. The soft skills are there, pretty much the same as the other teacher, and the training and support would be the same as the other teacher as well. That is my presentation.
Thank you, Virginia. It's always hard to be the first person, right?
Yeah.
Well,
We needed more time.
I think you did beautifully.
Thank you.
Just to remind the group, or those of you who are new, although she is presenting it, you had how many people on your team? I think it's about
I had, so because we have a large campus, I do have a larger staff, so I did ask for additional people to be on the team. So I had one of my 2 assistant principals with me. I had one of the 3 instructional coaches that I have. And then I had chosen 3 teachers, but then I also have a teacher working on her practicum hours. So I reeled her in, so we had 4 teachers.
Yeah,
so there were 7 of us.
And I lift that just to say, like, she really truly has an entire team of teachers from her campus and other staff who are not just supporting this, but designing this. And we all know that having them there at the table makes a huge difference in terms of the support that she can anticipate next year when we do implementation. So great job with that. So don't leave.
Okay.
You don't get to go
Okay.
just yet. Just to kind of orient ourselves as a group to the norms around feedback. Again, we want to value the school design team time, all the time that they have put into this, literally starting from back in August. It was our first meeting virtually, and thinking outside the box. Oh, welcome, Dr. Bird. How are you? Thinking outside the box. She's not just simply coming up with a new thing that's kind of an old thing with a different name. The idea is to be innovative with how she's utilizing her staff and her schedules and engaging in honest conversations. This is the safe space for her to hear your feedback, to ask questions. She may have questions as well, so that we can make sure that her design plan is solid and be solutions oriented. The purpose of today is not to obliterate her plan. The purpose of today is to say, how can I, in my department, whatever department that is, how can I support what you and your team have designed, okay? All right, so here are just some questions that you can use in terms of providing feedback around what clarifying questions do you have. That's actually where we're gonna start. Does the plan meet school needs based on what you've heard? Does it align to the P2L goals? So those of you who are part of pipeline team, school design team, you know those objectives. I know you know those objectives. And is the plan feasible? If it's not even feasible, then we need to have that conversation. And then again, how can your department help support this plan? So let's start with some clarifying questions. Any clarifying questions from the group for Virginia?
How many are you looking at? One intended teacher?
As many as the district will let me pay for. Because we are we do have a large staff. We have 40 teachers, so ideally, I would like to see a content lead teacher in reading and one in math, and at least one of the impact teachers, the demonstration teachers. And just because we do really have a lot of talent and a lot of expertise, and we want other teachers to be able to go into those classrooms and see the teacher teaching. And we've done that. We've done learning walks. Our teachers are very good about going and visiting each other, but this would just be, it would give that teacher who gets visited a lot that title, that role, that leadership, and that money. And maybe expand that role a little bit more, and more beyond just, let me go visit you and, oh, I can use this idea and go to my classroom, and be more of a conversation with that teacher.
We have a follow-up to Colin's question. Do you have a specific grade level focus for each one of these particular roles?
Yes, so because 4th and 5th grade are departmentalized at my campus, I would hope that the content teacher would be in that grade level, because we have 2 teachers that teach ELAR in 4th grade, and 1 teacher that teaches ELAR in ELAR in 5th grade. And our dual language teachers are not departmentalized, just our monolingual. So they already are experts in that field, because especially in 5th grade, we have 1 5th grade teacher who teaches 3 classes of reading and 1 who teaches 3 classes of math. So they're already experts.
Would this replace your ACT?
No, it would not. It would not replace the ACT, the grade level chair.
Virginia, on the impact teacher, how come it's preferred that they're TIA designated? Why would you make them be TIA designated already? If they're gonna have people coming in and they're gonna have bigger classes? Our thought is that they probably would already be master teachers. If we're choosing, and we haven't really talked about how they're chosen, if it's an interview, I foresee it being more of an interview process. I would think that if they're one of the most effective teachers on campus, that they probably are TIA. Doesn't mean that they have to be.
In TIA, when we had our discussions during design, tied into keeping this as budget neutral as we could as well. I remember that was part of the conversation with, if they are TIA, perhaps that kind of offsets having to find additional money for a stipend. Doesn't mean that is the stipend, is just trying to figure out, like, maybe that could be a part of it, which again, is why we need our finance people here to help us with that.
But you're still paying them 6
Yes.
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
above and beyond the TIA, which I think is, you should.
Yes.
But I just think like it probably shouldn't be preferred, it should be like required. Because you want the highest impact teacher.
Well, and we thought about that too, but then, like, I have a, yes, no, I agree with you, Dr. Bird, but, so this year, I do have a couple of teachers who are not TIA designated, who were master teachers for 5 years, and
they got bumped.
they got bumped.
It expired.
What do you say?
Because-
It expired.
It's a different, like they're not serving the same, like, you can lose it because you moved, right? If you don't serve the same.
No,
No.
it's only on the expired, so it expired in July. That's the only way you use it.
Oh, then they just have to requalify this year.
They have to
Yeah.
Yes.
They requalify.
Yes,
Yes.
good.
And so they
That
may
does
be
happen.
in that year where they haven't requalified. Mm-hmm.
So I know one of the things that we had talked about was instead of the TIA designation, putting demonstrated track record.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and we could change the wording on that a little bit. But I think that's why we moved it from required to preferred.
Or even perhaps TIA designated within the last 2 years,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Virginia, and I apologize because I'm new, to this group, but is this, so you're piloting this year one, and what is the duration of this?
So we talked about that a little bit too. Are we making this, I foresee making it a 1-year contract so that it's not something that a teacher's the content lead teacher 1 year, they just assume that the next year I'm gonna be the content lead teacher again. So we would prefer to have like a 1-year contract and then relook at that every year.
So this would almost be like a stipend, including clear guidance versus the contract. So the teacher is
Right.
but this would be reviewable in stipend. It's not a
I would see it just like the ACT, right? Because an ACT isn't always the same ACT from year to year.
So I have a couple clarifying questions too, and I appreciate this, but we need that. Remember back when we had the tip grants, this is what we were trying to do originally, the tip, was use something like this. But, when we talked about, on the content lead teacher, you addressed some of the metrics and progress monitoring would be the, comprehensive walkthrough average increase of 10% from BOY to EOY. Is that at the campus?
Mhm.
Okay, so you'll be
Yes.
looking, so you wouldn't set, because we do have some people because of designations don't get a comp.
Right.
So would you rethink that for your campus and say everyone gets at least 2 comps, so you put some different structures and so you'd be able to have some data to measure?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could. We were actually looking more at the teacher that would go and, is that on the content lead teacher?
Yeah.
That would go to some of the PD. Those teachers that are getting the additional PD from that content lead teacher, their comps increase. And those usually have more comps that they need. But we absolutely could. We do a lot more walkthroughs than is required. And we could even, yeah, we could just increase the number of comps that the teachers are getting.
Okay. And then, the question around the student assessment, it says 5% growth from BOY to MOY to EOY. Is it 5% between each window? Okay.
Just a couple clarifying. One, I think I know the answer, but just to hear from you, what is the biggest distinction between your ACT, your CLT, and your IC?
ACT, CLT, and IC. Okay, the ACT is the grade level chair. So each grade level has one person, that's the ACT. The ILT is the instructional leadership team. And on my campus, it's myself, my 2 assistant principals, and the 3 instructional coaches. And the ICs are the instructional coaches.
But in terms of the role of the, essentially your department chair versus what the content lead teacher is gonna be asked to do versus what an IC is doing on the campus for that content, what are some of the biggest distinctions between those roles, if I'm in either of those roles? Or are we
Between-
all kind of doing the same work together, just?
Yeah, or would you keep the coach? Do you need that position?
The instructional coach,
We would, because the content lead teacher may not be able to work with every single teacher like the instructional coaches do. And at a campus with 40 teachers, I couldn't have just one content lead teacher, and their time is limited because they're still teaching. They're still teaching, so I would still need the instructional coaches.
Can I add a little bit to that, because I remember during design section too, her instructional coach is on the team.
Yes.
So she's aware of all of this. And the way they were talking about it was that instructional coach kind of oversees what these positions are doing.
Yes.
So that collectively they are an instructional team. So it very much was, they have distinct roles. I think that's what you're getting at, Adrian, is that what is the distinction? They have distinct roles in terms of their assignments, and then how do they come together as a triad to make sure that they are not duplicating work and that they are extending the reach of support to all of the teachers, not just one or two teachers or whoever the content lead teacher can reach. So I do remember distinctly that discussion.
That makes a lot of sense. Second question, unrelated. Just curious, for the office hours portion, like how do you envision those office hours looking? And then do you require attendance? Is it based on walkthroughs? How do you do that? And as also somebody who gets to wear the other hat in the room, which is the union, how do you get folks off contract to show up to that part?
Yeah.
Because one person is getting paid to be there, everybody else is gonna be asked to show up or
Right.
voluntarily raise their hand to go. But I guess, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the office hours, we envisioned more as a time where the content lead teacher or the impact teacher opens themselves up to the other teachers coming in. It wouldn't be required of all the other teachers. It would just be required of the one of these teachers to have that time that teachers can come to them
So
after
there's a
school.
world where my 1 hour for that week, nobody shows up, so I'm, okay.
Yep.
Just curious.
So I think I'm curious around, this one, the content lead teacher feels like, this is like a crude kind of proxy, so this is not your word, but like a JVIC, right? Like, so they're like an IC coach in training, right? Like they're gonna hit the big league someday, but they're still like getting in their chops for it. And then the impact teacher just feels like a very strong teacher
Yes.
with a big class.
Yes,
So I think I'm curious around, like, there's some, like, assumptions being made, from my perspective, around, like, the support and development model. And I note that at the beginning, it said, very few people, 23% reported in coaching cycles. Like, this impact teacher doesn't necessarily equate to a coaching cycle,
right.
right? So how are you thinking through, like, the development side of the house where
Increasing those coaching cycles.
just because you see a good teacher doesn't mean you know how to do what that teacher does, especially
Exactly.
if you're, brand new.
And so we did have a discussion actually yesterday about that coaching piece. And that's why we added on this training and support to have the content teacher and the impact teacher take some training in how to coach, so that they would be able to provide teachers with some coaching. But of course, we would want to train them before they do, and that would increase the teachers across the board, how many teachers are being coached. May not be the same consistency as an instructional coach coaches teachers, or as I coach teachers, because we do have teachers, I have a teacher assigned to me that I coach regularly. And this may not be as regular, but they may still be able to, if a teacher comes to the impact teacher's classroom, observes them, and then the impact teacher coaches them, may just be a one-time thing, maybe more often, so that coaching cycle would increase.
Do you have a belief on dosage size that's gonna change practice though?
I'm sorry?
Like how many, like what's the assumption that you would make for like viewing a teacher to yielding change in teacher practice? Because this isn't just like one student achievement, this is really great for those kids. But if the secondary goal is around like improving teacher practice,
Right.
is there a dosage that you would want? And I asked that too for
Right.
the release time.
Yes,
right?
and we talked about that too, that some of teachers in greater need, we may require them to go and see the model teacher or the impact teacher. And as they increase in proficiency after seeing and being coached and talking to the impact teacher, then the requirement for them to go would decrease. So we would set some parameters on which teachers we would require to go and see this teacher, and others who might just choose to go and see them.
Can I add a little bit more context that may help? I know that when Virginia and her team were engaging in the conversation about these roles, that was one of the questions that was asked. And so in terms of dosage, we talked about, and I know some people don't like this word, but we talked about tiering teachers,
Mhm.
but tiering them based on the level of support that they require. So if I'm a tier 3 teacher, I should be getting this many visits from the coach and XYZ, right? Just the levels of support. But then we also talked about developing a very structured process for what it looks like when they go in and observe the impact teacher or the model teacher. Because if you just go in and you're just watching, the teacher's probably gonna pick up the thing that you're not really focused in on, like, yay, kids clapping for each other, which is great, right? But we're not there yet because you have to work on teacher clarity first. And so just being very specific and clear about what the 1 or 2 look-fors are, then going in with the coach, watching the model teach, but the model teacher also knows what they're really focusing in on, so that way they emphasize those teacher moves.
It would be very structured.
I think it kind of like connects to one of ours, or I think both of them might actually have it, but we put in like, one of the metrics would be like coached teacher is demonstrating improvement in teaching practice and data. But in parentheses, we just put down criteria needs to be set. We haven't like fleshed that part out, but we know it's gonna be part of the metric that, and it might just very well be where administrators are going in and the walkthrough data is showing that they're like meeting their goal. But how much percentage wise are we gonna put to that teaching practice meeting their goal? And the data, like do we want like 5% increase in growth per assessment as we're like getting closer to STAR, like kind of thing. But that's like one of the metrics we just haven't like fully outlined it yet.
Still have design session 3.
Yeah.
So not everything is left out yet. But
I also think on those like specific instructional strategies
Yes.
could be a portion of it. So it's not just watching them teach, like for us, we have
Right.
one similar as well. But it would be like, an example could be like an exit ticket. Like I gave an exit ticket, but was it really a formative exit ticket? Let's look at what a high quality exit ticket looks like. Or,
I think, well, I guess, so for your campus and then probably for years later, is your ILT tight enough where like you can, like you're looking at the teacher development period and you're saying like, this is what we're focusing on, this, because like for this to be successful, there's a tightness that has to exist for the administrative staff, both on how they coach, what they're seeing, like what the specific skills are at the time.
Yep.
And I think that I don't know your school well enough, but like that's really hard to get. It's really hard to build that, and then to be able to translate that to current classroom teachers who may or may not always know why they're good, right? Like,
Yep.
I think that that's a other, like you forget what you're doing at times, and you're like, oh, I don't know why I went near that student, and it's like you went near that student because you saw they're about to ball out, but
Yeah.
it's hard to remember those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real important
Yeah.
consideration, and really, I'm gonna say she have about 5 minutes, because we also need to get transition time. So in that 5 minutes, I would encourage the rest of you, if you have additional considerations, if that was huge, If you have another consideration, I'd say this would be the time to offer that up to her, so she can take notes and take that back to her team.
I do have a consideration, under the incentive considerations, about the district PD, would you consider, and I don't know the percentage of time that you're teaching, that the teacher, content lead teacher is teaching, are they getting release time? But would you consider, allowing them to attend the coaches training that happens on Fridays? Looking at the schedule, you know what, you're doing this, and so
Yeah.
would they have the opportunity to attend?
We talked about that also, but our coaches are being pulled almost every Friday, and that's a lot of time for a teacher to be away from teaching. I don't know if, getting substitutes would be a challenge to get a sub every Friday, and
Would you consider, looking at the agendas and saying, hey, could you
Absolutely.
go for one?
Mhm.
That would be.
yes.
I think the only thing that we have to remember is that they're teachers in classes,
Yes.
and so they would lose out every Friday.
So I go back to my first question is, what is the percentage of time teaching per week? I know when we looked at some models, there was a block of time when you doubled up a large group that released a part of the day or a week,
Yeah.
Is that considered? will that
We did not
schedule be
consider
considered
that.
during that?
We did not consider that in this schedule. I think maybe the middle schools did, but we didn't.
Even elementary, there were some models that y'all had presented.
Yeah, we did discuss it.
Okay.
I still need clarification on the metrics. It says the student assessment increased growth by the 5%.
Mhm.
Is that for the campus? Is that for the teacher who's in this role? Is it for the teachers who are being supported by these two roles?
Right, and there's different ways to look at it, right? We can drill way down onto the data by teacher, but as a team, we decided as a campus that we would see this increase because we're hoping that, this will affect more than just one or two teachers on campus, that it would affect quite a few teachers on campus, and so as a campus. But
So
we,
your
but we,
focus is at UR and
yes.
So, of course, we have to think of this as budget neutral, right?
Mhm.
And we don't know how much money you're gonna get from next school year. Are you thinking of having less instructional coaches next school year to have this position?
No. We have 3, and with almost 800 students, we really need our 3 instructional coaches. I did have some money. I had more money last year than I used in my budget because I had so many students. This year I had less students, so I did owe. I left it in there because I kind of knew. Yes. But again, with the increase in students next year, I'm hoping to have more money in the budget, but we were also hoping that the district would help us pay for it.
the content teacher is that 3 additional days part of the 5,000. So it's not 5,000 plus 3 days.
No,
And the 3 days,
it's not.
3 days you can pay for out of your budget, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it could be on the path towards budget neutral, or something.
If she gets the money.
Yeah,
But the 3 days are included as part of the 5,000, correct?
Yeah.
Or
That would be-
5,000 plus the 3 additional days at daily rate.
it would be, I think, I'm not speaking for you, I think it's like you would have the 3 days, and then that would be a chunk of the 5,000, right?
We had it in the 5,000, yes.
So they would work 1 month.
Yes.
Any other considerations? All right, well, thank you, Virginia.
Thank you.